As incoming President Donald Trump trolls Canada, touting a annexation of his neighbor to the north, Greenland and the Panama Canal, Canadians find themselves running in circles, searching for an identity. The timing could not be better for Pierre Poilievre, the likely next Prime Minister of Canada, to inject a much needed dose of Canadiana into our national consciousness. This week, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on CNN reminded us that being Canadian is that we're not American. Well, true, it's not saying anything meaningful. We're also not Japan, Sweden, or Mexico. The obsession with defining ourselves by what we're not, particularly not American, has blurred the lines of what it means to be Canadian. It's kind of like akin to home hardware marketing itself as we're not Home Depot or hey, we're not Lowe's. We're often more similar to what we claim we're not than we care to admit. Justin Trudeau's tenure as Prime Minister has been a case study in post-national ambiguity. At one time, he was a global star, declaring Canada's back and championing the idea that the world needs more Canada. But what does that even mean? Do they need more? I'm really not so sure. Many Canadians, even those critical of Trudeau, have embraced his abstract vision of Canadian identity. An uncomfortable truth is that Trudeau's view of being Canadian is exactly what the majority of 40 million people are or how they view themselves as a nation. Both Trudeau and Canada are good looking, but also uncomfortably hollow. We are indifferent and unable to describe what we are. Yet as we've traveled the world with the maple leaf on our backs and jars of maple syrup in tow as gifts, the global response has increasingly become one of polite indifference. Canadians have an overinflated view of how the world perceives us. The belief that the world values us highly for our politeness, our multiculturalism, our resources. It's all an echo chamber of our own making. The truth is, the global stage has moved on, past us. The world doesn't love us as much as we'd like to think, and our nostalgic self-congratulation has hindered our ability to confront reality. Increasingly, the world is truly indifferent to us as Canada. Since one of the things we might still gather around is hockey, I will say that on the world stage, Canada's become that washed up, didn't meet the expectation first round pick that would have been a serviceable fifth round NHLer on the third team in hindsight. The player still sees themselves for the accomplishments they had as a young prospect. You know, winning World Junior Hockey Gold, maybe a Memorial Cup or two, and so many other personal accolades. Now that player's 28 years old and performing nowhere close to a first round pick, that player keeps telling themselves that basically tell anyone that will listen about their history and what they used to accomplish. They ignore the current stats and everyone politely listens and truly laughs in the general manager's office and fan message boards. This is Canada in a nutshell. Let's use a more tangible example. Let's talk about healthcare. We're so preoccupied with not wanting an American-style system that we can't even have an honest conversation about fixing our own crumbling infrastructure. Our obsession with what we're not has blinded us to the urgent need for progress and innovation. We've approached military spending in the same not American way that has allowed our military to be a shadow of itself and incapable of having an impact like it did in World War II. You know, this is where Pierre Poilievre's moment emerges. Whether you agree with his politics or not, his no-nonsense, roll-up-your-sleeves approach offers a chance to redefine Canada's trajectory. It's time to get over ourselves and acknowledge the gap between how we perceive ourselves and how the world actually views us. Canada needs a dose of humility and a plan to make tangible progress. You know, under Justin Trudeau, Canada aspired to lead the fight against climate change and champion social justice. Yet, as other nations found balanced, pragmatic approaches to these issues, we lag behind, clinging to the ideological purity rather than results. Poilievre's critics may balk at his style, but his focus on fiscal policy, trade, and industrial strategy is the kind of practical governance Canadians need now. The world's economic pressures have pushed nations toward nationalism. A trend Canada can't afford to ignore. We produce resources and goods with pride, but that pride must translate into strategic action. We need leaders who can turn rhetoric into results, giving Canadians something real to celebrate and earn global respect. Recent remarks by Trump, envisioning Canada as a part of a hypothetical North American superstate, underscore the global questioning of our identity. Are we strong, an independent nation with a clear vision, or are we adrift, ripe for some sort of acquisition? This existential question should be a wake-up call to Canadians. The fact that I have people texting me, serious people texting me and saying, hey, could this happen, shows how much we lack identity outside of our borders as well. In the past decade, we've spent more time tearing down our history than learning from it. At one point, we even debated canceling Canada Day. Instead of erasing the past, we should embrace our story. A story full of triumphs, a story full of mistakes. This should all be the foundation for our growth. Canadians need to stop defining itself by what it's not and start articulating what it actually is. Pierre Poilievre's government, if it rises to the occasion, could deliver this much-needed reset. By prioritizing economic growth, trade, and pragmatic policies, Canada can regain its footing on the global stage. Canadians deserve a leader who inspires pride, not just with words, but with actions that produce real, measurable success. It's time for Canada to move beyond the nostalgic, romanticized view of our place in the world. We need a renewed focus on what makes us unique and valuable, not as a contrast to others, but as a nation with its own identity and aspirations. The world doesn't need a Canada that tries to be everything to everyone. It needs a Canada that knows itself and leads with confidence. Would love your feedback. Send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. And as always, thanks for getting real and getting connected with Real Agriculture.